JHK here for Sportskeeda, and right now I'm joined by UFC flyweight Gina Mazany. Gina, thank you so much for coming on. How's life treating you?
Oh man, life's pretty good. I'm excited to eat some snacks, but first I have to beat somebody up, so
All right,
life's pretty good.
all right. Snacks are always good. What's the go-to snack for you?
Oh man, I mean if we're talking like, oh god, I could go on for days. I'm honestly a big fan of donuts. I've been craving donuts and milk, and I've been craving waffles with like a lot of butter. That's not really a snack though. That's like a fat girl treat. I miss I like meat and cheese plates, like brie cheese, and like melt it and dip apples in it, and ice cream and all the fun stuff. 125 is just great. I'm enjoying the dieting.
Yeah. A lot of fighters they torture themselves by like posting snacks and food and looking at it all day every day, and I I wonder what's the psychology behind that.
We're pretty fucked up. Um, my thing is I love to cook, and I'm still consistently cooking for my family and stuff, and like I'll just like smell it and I'll have like little tiny tastes of it. I'm like, oh, it's so good, and but it's a weird psychology though. I'm like, oh, you're gonna like it. I'm like, oh, try this. You have to try this, or like I'll buy Tim like a chocolate bar. I'm like, it's so good. You have to eat it. Let me watch you eat it. It's really weird, but it's fine. Yeah, we torture ourselves.
It's a trip. It's a trip. But I guess that's what makes you mentally strong. I think dieting is the hardest part.
It
Getting
really is.
punched and submitted and all that stuff is hard. But man, that dieting psychologically, I think, is difficult.
Well, it's like, I mean, like I enjoy fighting. I
Mhm.
enjoy like, seeing I enjoy just like training and competing, and like I love all that. But man, I just love sitting down and eating a plate of spaghetti like like anyone else. But it's yeah, dieting's definitely the
Yeah,
hardest part about it.
yeah, yeah. I think people need to respect that a little bit more. I think of fighters now. Let's start at early 2020. Before the pandemic hit, took a fight, King of the Cage, and got a first round finish against Valerie Barney. How
Hmm.
important was that victory for you for the trajectory of your career?
Hey, stop! God, it was sorry, my cat. It was really important. That fight was at 155 pounds, and I walked around 152 pounds soaking wet, so I remember I weighed in, and I like weighed in with like my phone, and I wore my heavy hoops and like, and they made me take it all out, and I was 52 pounds, but whatever, they still let me fight. But yeah, it was really important. And it was bizarre because I was fighting a gal, like she had a good record, like she was like 5-1 when I fought her. And it was one of those things where I'm like, if I lose to her, I shouldn't be fighting. So Gina, you better get on it. And that was kind of the attitude I had going into the fight. And everything was fine, and it was great. So that was a really important one
Definitely,
for me.
and that fight got you back into the UFC, and
Hmm.
you dropped down to flyweight. Actually, you dropped down to flyweight, right? Against
Well,
Rachel.
well, first I lost to Julia Alvey. I took a
Yes,
last minute
yes,
fight,
that's right.
and that sucked, and that really sucked. And I thought I was done fighting. I was like, I'm gonna hang him up. And then James Krause was like, called my dude and was like, hey Tim, like just give me Gina for like 2 months. Just give me Gina for 2 months. We're gonna get her back. And I'm like, yeah, right. And I went back, and now I feel like it's a whole new beginning. Like believe in myself. I've gotten better. I have my game organized. New weight class. Like it's pretty great.
I wanted to ask you about that because I did see something about you, and like you said, about possibly hanging it up after the Julia Avila fight. And is it a love-hate relationship, or is that something that has developed over the years, or was it from the beginning? Like it's a tough sport, it's
Yeah, it's funny because I remember I think I was talking to Jason High about it, and I was like, yeah, I was like, after my last 35 fight, I was gonna quit. And he's like, how many times you quit before that? And I started laughing because it's so real. Because there's so many times you're like, I'm done, screw this, I'm over it. Like this sucks, like because it sucks. Um, but I'm really glad I didn't. It's definitely, and I love the sport. I'm addicted to the game. It's a level of competition you can't compare to anything else. So it's kind of a love hate relationship. It's literally it's like about it's like genuinely love. Like love has the highest highs and the lowest lows. If you've ever been in love, like that's just it just be like that sometimes. And that's how fighting is. I love it, and it's but you can't do this unless you love it.
well, on the
So
love side, your last fight, you go in there, You have a great performance. You drop down to flyweight. You know, when you look back at that performance, everybody looks at the finish, but did you see anything that you didn't like leading up to that?
So I told my coach, I was like, I feel like I was getting hit a lot and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, Gina, you did fine. You did great. Like, you performed great. It was honestly, I don't want to say it was, like, I remember when I first took her down, I was like, oh, like in my head, like I took her down, I was like, oh my God. I remember my brain, it was like, it stopped. And it sounds really weird, but I remember I could I smelled her like perfume. And I was like, man, I just took her down and God, she smells great. And I was like, fuck, Gina, you're fighting. Like, let's go, like, but I was so blown away that takedown just was like so effortless, but it's something that I do effortlessly in the gym. So why wouldn't it happen in real life? Every fight I've had before, I felt like it was just like a grind, a struggle. But that's where my organizing or my game comes in.
You made your flyweight debut after fighting at bantamweight for so long, and you mentioned the takedown and everything. Did you feel the strength difference versus Rachael?
Yeah, I really did. And I don't know if it was like Rachel's good. Like, she's really tough, and I feel like people don't give her enough credit because she's a beautiful chick. But she's good and she's tough. Like, I hit her hard and she didn't go down, you know what I mean? Like but I remember when I was picking her up, I was like, man, this feels like my 15ers in the gym, she didn't feel that like big. Like, I mean, I fought like Lena Landsberg and I fought Macy Chiasson and I fought big girls. So it's really, it's interesting competing against a lot smaller people, because in my mind and in my brain and in my body, I still feel like I'm like big. Like, my man's like, God, you're so little right now. And I'm like, no, man, I'm big. Like, in my brain, I'm like, I'm huge, but I'm not. My pants are all like, everything's all loose on me and stuff. But yeah, I definitely feel a strength difference. I know my next opponent, I have a feeling that she's going to be very, very, very strong. So I'm really excited to test all that and feel how that is. But I've been known to be quite a strong little Gina bear. So who knows? We'll see. And if she's stronger than me, then I'll out technique her. I'll be fine.
Yeah, you got options. You got options. Now, before we get into that fight, Rachael, she gets released by the UFC and signs with BKFC. This seems like it's like, did it come out of left field or what?
Dude, no. I was like, when I saw that, I was like, brilliant. You and Paige are going to fight again and y'all are going to get paid. Mm-hmm. Good for you. Like, I was like, that's so smart. Why didn't I think of that? I mean, I think it's cool. I personally, I don't know, I guess money talks, but I don't think I would ever be interested in bare knuckle boxing. I mean, like, I hurt my hands as it is, wrapped up in gloves and big gloves, and I still hurt my hands. I couldn't imagine like punching bone on bone and not, like, I use my hands for a lot of things. Like, I don't know. I just don't think that my little kitten mittens could handle it. But I mean, good for Rachael though. Her and Paige are gonna make some cash, so I'm happy for them.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always down to support fighters making more cash.
Yeah, like that's gonna, man. I was like, oh my God, that's great, that's brilliant.
Now you moved to Glory MMA last year to train full time over there, and the change of scenery, has it been easy? Outside of training.
Yes, it has been easy. At the beginning, it wasn't. When we were like when I was getting ready for the Rachael fight, that was really difficult because we were like renting one of James's houses, and we had like literally no furniture. Like, our daughter had a bedroom, but me and Tim had like a bedroom with a bed and I think like a desk. But we lived like that for a couple months, and like we do everything together, so it was really hard. But the transition of being in Missouri has just been great. Like, people here are so kind. The weather is weird, but there's trees, which I like. There's lots of outdoor stuff to do. The Glory, the team is just so great and welcoming, and it's you really feel like it's the first time in a while where I really felt like I had like a whole team behind me. And like, when my teammate wins, I feel like we all win. Like, I don't know if you saw Jeff Molina's fight this weekend. Just such an amazing fight and just so inspiring. And the transition's been really great, and it's weird. It's weird how much I'm enjoying it. So it's good.
Yeah, well, you get into a comfortable mind state, and you coming off a win and enjoying life. It helps when you step into the cage, right?
It sure does. It
Yeah.
sure does.
And Jeff, man, I've spoken to Jeff a few times, and I spoke to him before his last fight. Great performance. He got the 50K bonus, which helps a lot for him. And
Yeah.
man, I think he looks the youngest. I'm not saying he's the youngest, but he looks so young, doesn't he, for his
He's
age?
got that baby face, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
He's got that sweet baby skin, that baby glow. Yeah, no, and man, and he's so good. Like
Mhm.
it's frustrating how good he is. Now I was at the first round, I was like, oh, like it wasn't Jeff, but the third round, I was like,
Mhm.
there he is. This is what he does to me in the gym every time I spar with him, or like I just see him just picking people apart. Like he's really good. I'm so happy to see him win like that.
Now, it's been 6 months between fights. Was Priscilla the first fight offered to you, or did you have other fights lined up? It just didn't come through.
I asked for some fights, but really I just kind of leave all that in my coach's hands and my managers. Like I don't, at the beginning when I first got with James, he wanted, I wrote a list of girls that I wanted to fight. And it was funny because Rachel wasn't even on my list. I just didn't even think about it. And then he's like, "What about this girl?" And I was, "Or what do you think about Rachel?" I'm like, "Oh, that's a good one." And then they offered Priscilla, and James was like, "I would have handpicked this fight for you." And so I'm like, "Okay, I trust you. Whatever you say." But yeah, to my knowledge, I've never said no to a fight. But yeah, I literally leave all that into my managers and my coach's hands. My job is to fight. They make all the decisions.
Makes it simple. Now, Priscilla, of course, you and your coaches sit down and have a meeting and talk about the matchup. What do you think about the matchup? What has the coaches been telling you?
They say obviously they say it's a good matchup for you, and watching her, I think she's very like heavy-footed. Like she throws bombs. I'm sure she hits hard. She's probably really strong. But I feel like my movement's gotten really good, my head movement and my just like my overall striking's gotten better. And like with that, like I've always have my wrestling and stuff and my ground game. And I just I just think that I'm a little bit a better all around well-rounded fighter. I think that and I think I can really put on a pace. Like I get really tired in fights, but I don't really stop. I just kind of keep going. Like I don't I'm good about getting tired and keep going. And I've seen some of her previous fights, and she tends to kind of gas. And I know she's working. I'm sure she's working super hard, and I hope she is, because if she puts on a good show, that means I'm going to put on a good show. Let's make some cash. But I think it's a good matchup for me. I think she's going to come out strong in the first round, and I think I might face some adversity in the first round, but I think the 501 roll after the first bell, like I'm it's my fight. Like I think I might face a little bit of adversity in the beginning, but from then on, like I'm gonna get on it.
It seems like you've had a lot of development in your skill set the last 6 months or so, even more. And who have been the key figures that have been helping you?
Oh man, of course the James Krause. He's been he's been so great for me, so great for me. And then also Grant Dawson has been a big help with my wrestling. It was funny. I met him in Abu Dhabi, and when we're out here for Tim's fight, and he's like, oh, he's like, when you get back to Glory, I'll help you with your wrestling. I'm like, okay. And like in Vegas, everyone would be like, oh, I'm gonna help you with this, I'm gonna help you with that, and like a lot of people don't really come through. The week we got back, Grant worked with me twice a week for 15 weeks straight. Like didn't like was so consistent, and so like he was just a really good person to have uh have to help me out with that. And then I've also been working with James Gallagher a bit. I was him and I were main training partners up until he had to pull up for his fight. And I've picked up quite a few things from him. He's a monster and a half. So yeah, it's just we have all sorts of good people. Jeff Molina and Derek Minner and Kevin Kroom and God, Jason Witt. Like we have so many good, talented people in that room. It's nuts.
Or who are the females in the team? It seems like there's not as many females, or are they prospects that we just don't know about?
There are definitely. Alexa Culp, who's a good friend of mine. She's a 125 or 115er for Invicta, up and coming pro. And then Elle Wagner, she's actually fighting this next week.
Okay.
But she's a 105er, a little smaller human. Tough, really good, talented girls. Why is my alarm going off? And then of course Megan Anderson. She hasn't really been back in since her fight. She's been having issues with her elbow and stuff, and her poor little nose. And but yeah, there's really not that many females. Actually, Julia Avila, a girl I fought, is
That's
tomorrow.
right.
So, but yeah, there's not too many girls, but I definitely oh, we have another girl, Chantel. She fought in Invicta. So it's like, but there's some sprinkled in there, but not as many. But it's okay. But I definitely take advantage of like when there are females there, just to wrap them up a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, how do you see this fight playing out? You're going for back-to-back wins. That hasn't happened in a long time. So, what do you expect?
I'm not sure how I'm gonna win. Like my last fight, I did not think in a million years I was gonna win by that liver shot. It's something I throw all the time. It's something I drop people with. But I just don't know. But one thing is I'm gonna find a way to win, whether it's on the ground, whether it's standing up, whether it's against the cage. I'm gonna find a way to win. I think I've just worked too hard, and I've just I have too many skills not to find a way to win. So I think it'll be a good fight, though. I really do. I think she's gonna give me a nice tough look, and but nothing I haven't seen before in the sense of like size or strength, because I've fought really big girls before. So I'm excited to see how I feel against another 125 pounder.
Do you feel like you're hitting your stride as a fighter, as an athlete?
I think so. I feel like I'm in the best shape of my freaking life, and I'm like 32. I never thought, like, I found abs I've never seen before. I didn't even know I had top abs. I thought, I was like, oh, I'm just genetically weird. I don't have those abs, but I do. So it's like, I'm like, in my off season, I walk around and I still kind of have abs. So it's like, I think I'm just overall in the best shape. It's like I feel like I'm in my prime right now, which I never thought I would be in my 30s, but heck, I'll work it.
Yeah, unpredictable life. Now, May 15th, UFC 262 in front of a crowd, Houston, Texas, not too far from where you're at. Thank you, Gina, for the time, and it was great chatting with you. Hopefully we do many more in the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.